Hello, everybody. Good evening, or if you're listening to this after the fact or watching it after the fact, good morning, good afternoon, good night. I'm Franco Panizo, one of your usual co hosts on this lovely podcast, Inter Miami Focus podcast, which is bilingual and it goes by the name of Miami Total Football Radio. Joining me, as you can see, making her return after more than a month's worth of, I won't say vacation because I know you were hard at work, but spell on the sidelines is Andrea Yanes, aka Akisita. The people have been clamoring for your return on this show that's also known as Miami Total Football Radio. Andrea, it's good to see your face again, although I've seen you in person over the last few weeks, but how are you doing?
I am good. I'm glad to be back. I'm going to say like Lionel Messi and Luis Suarez. I was called up for Copa America, so that's why I missed the whole month. But glad to be back. I'm not injured. Almost injured, though, because that final was crazy and and all of that, but I'm here. At least I wasn't injured like Messi's ankle, so I'm here and glad to be back and glad to be talking to all of you. And I've got to meet some amazing fans of this podcast who I want to say hi, especially to Brett, who I met in the stadium, and hopefully he's watching right now. I told him I was going to be back last week. I couldn't make it, but I'm here.
Liar, mentirosa.
So I'm here, and I have to say to Brett, we took some pictures. He was very nice, and he's a fan of the show. So I want to say thank you to him because he helped me a lot during Copa America games here in Miami. So it's nice to meet the fans, and it was so unexpected when he talked to me, but it was a funny story. And I'm glad to meet some of you guys that listen to us and listen to our rambling and our fights and everything.
And our fiery, feisty debates. You know that. Andrea, well, I'm sure we will have plenty of debates this week. It's you and I, no Jose Armando on this week's show. He is sidelined with some other call-up duties that he's got. But that's fine, because that means there's more time for you to talk after missing a month. So I'm sure you've got plenty to say about the state of Inter Miami going into the 2024 Leagues Cup, which we will talk about what it means for Inter Miami to try to defend its title in this competition. Is it meaningful or is it meaningless? We'll talk about that. We'll talk about the new center back that has arrived. We will preview Saturday's game against Puebla and everything in between. Before we get into that, just the quick pleasantries, the quick intro. If you haven't already, and you're new or you're old, young, fresh, or something else, give us a review or, give us a review on Apple Podcasts and Spotify, or a like, a subscribe, share, a like, a comment on YouTube. We're almost at the number we need to get to. I don't know what I did with the pink shorts that I had here, but yeah, we're giving away a pair of pink shorts once we get to the magic number on Apple Podcasts. And yeah, we're getting close. We're getting very close. We just got to get over that hump, that last hump. So anyway, all right, Andrea, let's begin. Inter Miami plays Puebla on Saturday to start the Leagues Cup title defense after winning the 2023 edition of the competition. Now, everyone keeps referring to, or not everyone, a lot of people keep referring to the 2023 edition of that tournament as the first of its kind, but it's not. The competition existed beforehand, just in a different format. So it's not like Inter Miami won the first ever Leagues Cup. Inter Miami won the first Leagues Cup that included all the teams from both leagues. Now, Inter Miami goes into this one in a pretty good run of form. They're in first place in the Eastern Conference in the MLS standings. So at least in that way, that they're heading into this tournament with confidence and feeling good about themselves. They've been winning games, scoring goals, just finding ways to pick up points. But now it's a different competition. They have 2 group stage games to try to get out and advance to the knockout rounds. It starts with Puebla on Saturday. Inter Miami wants to try to defend its title. This is what Sergio Busquets said on Wednesday, before the MLS All-Star game on Wednesday morning. Well, we'll talk about all of this here in a second because it's early. But yeah, let's just listen to what Sergio Busquets said about Inter Miami's title defense. There is English translation. It's not the best, but For you guys who don't speak Spanish, don't understand Spanish, it's included. So let's listen to Sergio Busquets on the League's Cup title defense here in 2024 for Inter Miami.
Sí, estaría muy bien. Yo creo que este año, como tú dices, el panorama es diferente. En Liga estamos líderes y estamos muy bien, pese a que, como he dicho en muchas ocasiones, todavía no hemos podido juntar todo el equipo en un partido. Cuando no hemos tenido lesionados, hemos tenido sancionados o ha habido parón de selecciones. Y yo creo que cuando estemos todos todavía vamos a tener ese plus de poder compenetrarnos y tener un mayor nivel. Así que ojalá estemos cuanto antes y por qué no, como tú dices, pues ganar el segundo trofeo. Nosotros vamos a luchar, tenemos un grupo difícil con 2 equipos mexicanos y ojalá podamos pasar y a partir de ahí va a ser un cara o cruz con cualquier equipo, 90 minutos, penaltis, así que tenemos la experiencia del año pasado y ojalá vayamos por el mismo camino y podamos luchar por ser otra vez el equipo ganador.
It would be great to win a second time. We've had players who've been missing due to injury, international play, so on and so forth, but the whole group hasn't been together for once, and as we continue looking and as we get into the tournament, we'd hope that the group is together. As you know, we're at the top of the table, and we'd hope that this comes great, and we can go into the tournament and win it again a second time.
Okay, so that translation missed a whole bunch of context of what Busquets actually said, but you get the gist of it. Busquets said, they would like to try to win again. Why not? Of course. Stock response, stock answer. Andrea, before we get into the meat and potatoes, the more interesting stuff, I got to start with a spicy question. It's fitting. Akisita's here. We start with a spicy question. I don't know if we'll get a spicy answer. I imagine we will. Are you tired already of the unabashed, shameless promotion of this competition? Like, Sergio Busquets was ready to partake in the MLS All-Star game, and on Wednesday morning, he's in a press conference with Andres Guardado, 10 minutes or so, just to promote League's Cup. Not talk about MLS All-Star game, but to promote League's Cup, which, by the way, yes, everybody, in case you're new or you weren't paying attention last year, this is run by Major League Soccer and some, right? So there you go. Andrea, are you as tired of seeing this shameless promotion as I am? And I feel bad for Busquets because he's just, he's got to be a good soldier and do what he's told.
I am so tired of that because, listen, especially after what happened in CONCACAF Champions League, which is the real deal, and they're trying to make this thing happen again. And let's face it, last year it was interesting because it was Messi's first game and that goal against Cruz Azul. If that goal was against Atlanta United, like the second 2 goals he scored against Atlanta United, it wouldn't have been as magical as it was because it was a Mexican big team to win the game to which he scored. But right now, after what happened in the Champions League, where every MLS team, including Inter, except Columbus Crew, including Columbus Crew in the final, was flattened. But after that, you're trying to make this happen after what happened in the real thing. So I think it's a little bit too much.
But it's just MLS trying to push. I don't know. I don't tournaments. It's trying to make money. It's trying to
MLS, push this.
It's trying to give it importance.
And listen, I understand because they want to make bucks. Yes, trying. It's not really. Listen, MLS, it's in the middle of the season, and I understand that they need something interesting because, for example, Inter Miami is already in the playoffs. Cincinnati is already in the playoffs. Columbus Crew is already in the playoffs.
Not officially,
they can
but
lose all the games that are left.
But practically.
They lose all the games that are left, and they can be in the play-in. Yeah, like Inter Miami, Columbus, Cincinnati, LA Galaxy, LAFC, and Real Salt Lake are already in the playoffs. So there's nothing interesting that is happening in MLS, and I understand that they need to make this happen, but I think it's too much, really, because for the real thing, they got flattened, and after watching them in a real thing in a home and away match, it's not interesting to watch right now, and especially without Lionel Messi, right? Because the interesting thing in this Leagues Cup is the presence of Lionel Messi, and even Inter Miami's match got moved to Houston with Tigres. The big matchup in this tournament, in this group stage that they call, was Inter Miami Tigres, Messi against Andre Pierre Gignac. And it got moved to Houston, and now maybe, yes, it's going to be full because of Tigres, but it's not going to be the same because Inter Miami is not the same without Messi. They got destroyed in Mexico with Messi, so imagine what will happen here without Messi. So I think MLS should tone it down a little. And after the result yesterday, I was watching the All-Star game. We're going to talk about that. And Busquets, they were losing, man. Trying to interview Busquets. They were interviewing HH in the bench, and Busquets was by his side, and the reporter asked Sergio Busquets something, and Busquets was like, and his answer was like, you could see he was annoyed because he said, "Oh, this is something different because how." I bet it was the first time in his career that someone went to the bench to talk to him in the middle of a match. I know it's a friendly or whatever, but that doesn't happen. So he said like, oh, it's for the show, blah, 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 blah. But you could see he was tired. So unfortunately, Leagues Cup, like you said, like you asked in the beginning, for me, this year is completely meaningless. Inter Miami won it last year. Messi's, they went to the Champions League, yes. But this year, it doesn't. People are just already tired of it. People can see it's a money grab, especially after what happened in the Champions League, the real deal.
If you throw in the U.S. Open Cup hoopla and drama that happened this year, and how some supporters groups are vetoing, or boycotting, watching or attending these games. So, I mean, clearly
you could see ticket sales, Franco, except like obviously you're gonna get games when you have America, where you get Tigres, where you get Monterrey, that they're gonna be full. But you're gonna see Saturday. Like Puebla is not a big team, and they don't have a big star. The stadium will not be full. So we're gonna see that in a lot of matches this year. Last year it was a new thing, the new format, so people were at least curious. But after all that has happened, and what happened, the shameful thing that happened with US Open Cup, and they so blatantly saying that it's just because of the business, then it gets fans mad, right? So it's unfortunate. I mean, personally, I don't like Leagues Cup.
I think the tournament itself, not like I get the idea behind it. I get the reasons why MLS is trying to push it, money, but not everything. And we don't have to stick on a large tangent on this because we want to stick on Inter Miami focused topics. But this is something Inter Miami is involved in. Not everything in professional sports has to be primarily focused on making money. And I know that we're in the United States, and it's a very United States of America way of thinking and viewing things. And yes, professional sports are a business in any country, but that doesn't mean that every decision that's taken has to prioritize the financial aspect. You can prioritize the sporting aspect and then work your business around that. Like, it's not just business comes first all the time and then the sporty side. Plenty of other countries and plenty of other realms and plenty of other levels of the beautiful game. Sporting side is prioritized. Of course, the business side is factored into it, of course, as much as possible, because yes, this is a business, but the sporting side trumps the business side in some countries, in some circumstances. In the United States, it's constantly and almost always, if not always, business over the sporting side, which is unfortunate. Like, just watching, and that's why I said we're barely going to talk about the All-Star game. Just watching this week's, that press conference with Sergio Busquets and Andres Guardado, like Taylor Twellman's there, and he's, serving as the host.
Why did they invite us MC to start? Yes, like, so what did we do there? They invited us and had us on Zoom, but we couldn't ask questions. We couldn't.
But it's just for show. It's just for show. And look,
show
again. Exactly. Listen, Taylor Twellman is a commentator for Apple, so and they have their ties with the executives and the higher ups, and they get paid pretty well to be on TV. So again, just like Sergio Busquets is being a good soldier to answer the questions, Taylor Twellman's being a good soldier and just asking what his bosses are asking him to do. But all the questions were softball, promotional type questions like, oh, how excited are you for Leagues Cup? Oh, how can you believe it that last year you guys won? You're already here again, trying to go for it the second time. It was just all rah bullshit to try to promote this competition that MLS is trying so hard to make happen. I like how you said it earlier. It reminded me of that line from, what movie is that? Mean Girls, where they're like, fetch. Stop trying to make fetch happen. MLS, exactly. Stop trying to make Leagues Cup happen. Just go focus back on the Open Cup. Like, find ways to make that competition better. There are ways to make it better. We're not going to dive into it here because, again, we try to stick to an hour and 10 minutes. But there are better ways to do this. Like this Liga MX and MLS rivalry that they're trying to create, which we already see, like you said, in the CONCACAF Champions Cup. This is just to try to get more eyeballs onto MLS's product, because MLS's product during the regular season doesn't get much eyeballs. Just generally speaking, you get teams like Inter Miami every now and then that other people want to see, but generally speaking, you're only watching your in-market team. Not many people are watching, their in-market team at the stadium on Saturday and then watching other games from other teams in the league the other days. So this is just about getting eyeballs on the product. This is about getting more dollars, trying to create this rivalry to try to just drum up interest in a regular season that, like Andrea said, and again, we're not going to go into all of it, that runs stale, especially during the dog days of summer, just because there's a playoff format, and there's a playoff format that's very, very flattering, very forgiving. I like the word forgiving because so many teams get in. So a lot of meaningless games. Yeah. Leagues Cup, in terms of is it meaningful or meaningless? Andrea said it's meaningless. I will not say it's entirely meaningless because it could give Inter Miami a second trophy. It could represent a chance at maybe getting to the Club World Cup if that's what's decided. Who knows how they'll decide?
Yeah, and that's also
just waiting
a
for Inter Miami.
Like,
they're waiting for Inter Miami to
fall
into one of the places.
Like, I didn't want to say it because then people call me negative, but
it's the truth.
Like,
it's the truth. You
like
can tell,
seriously, we have to say, we have a duty to be truthful, and they are waiting to see, like Don Garber said in this MLS All-Star in the interviews that he did, we're waiting to see maybe a match who wins the Supporters Shield and MLS Cup. And I'm like, man, just say you're waiting to see which one Inter Miami wins.
Which one Inter Miami falls into to try to give them the best odds of playing in the Club World Cup, because you want those eyeballs on the Club World Cup with Messi and the brand that he carries.
Yeah.
Like, it's clear as crystal. And again, just very quickly to touch on, that press conference that we just shared a clip from. Like, Busquets was asked about penalty kicks. Like, Twelman asked him, and again, I get this is not probably a Taylor Twelman, let me come up with this question. This is a pre-orchestrated question from higher-ups that were like, ask Busquets this. And he asked Busquets, what do you think about these games going straight to penalties as opposed to there being extra time? And you can see in the reaction. I wish I could share the clip, but again, we're not going to try to dive too deep into this. If you want to see the full clip in the full 10-11 minutes interview, you can do so on Miami Total Football's YouTube page. It's uploaded there since yesterday, so look for it there. But Busquets is kind of like, you can tell he's trying to be a professional and answer the question in the way that he knows that they're trying to sell this product and promote this product, but he's kind of like, there
are so many things.
It's great. It's your players get tired if they play 120 minutes. It's like it's just this whole week with All-Star game. It's just shameless promotion from a league that tries too hard, man. Tries too hard to try to be relevant instead of just letting things flow and let things happen naturally.
Yeah, exactly.
Focus on the stuff that actually matters to get you in front of to improve your quality.
I agree 100%.
It's like, let's do it for the bells and whistles. Let's here, come on, look, take a selfie over here, Busquets, with like the All-Star Skills Challenge and
that skill challenge. Like, seriously, man. And then I don't even want to talk about it because for me that is completely ridiculous. A skills challenge, like, are we playing FIFA or are these professional players or what? I don't even want to talk about it.
Stop it. Why aren't you more fun? This is supposed to be fun. I don't think it's fun. I think it's pretty boring. I think it's fun. I think it's fake excitement. I think it's like, it's just okay.
And the
people in the stadium, and the people in the stadium, most of the people in the stadium, sure, there's probably some fans that'll pay whatever it was to get there, but the majority of the people that go to, I won't say the majority, a lot of the people that go to these All-Star games or All-Star events are league and team employees that travel, that are brought there for work, and then there's corporate sponsors and corporate sponsors' families. Like a lot of the people that are at these things are just work in the industry, not just natural fans that are there. Like they're just there to make filler and to make. Again, I'm not a big fan of the All-Star game. We
And
can,
listen,
again,
the
argue
All-Star
about
game,
All-Stars, but
I understand that this is America and the All-Star game is something that happens, but the NFL All-Star game is a joke. The NBA All-Star game used to be good, used to be interesting, but it's also becoming, no one wants to see it. No one wants, they are trying ways to make it interesting because, and that's the problem with MLS. They copy other American sports and try to be like them, but
they're trying
they
to
don't
Americanize an international sport.
the sport, exactly. And football is football. It is the same in the whole wide world. Yes, you can do the fun stuff, but listen, you organize that just then to get to get humiliated 4-1 in the match and completely pasar por encima the Mexican
It's
Liga
steamrolled.
MX.
You keep saying flattened, but I like steamrolled.
Steamrolled, exactly. Yeah. And listen, that game was the perfect example. What's the problem with MLS? Because those were the best players in MLS, but supposedly, right?
No.
Then
See,
you see,
ahí vamos a discrepar, Andrea, because
supposedly, right?
I don't
What
care
they
about
are
the result in
selling.
the All-Star game. I don't care. Like if MLS
No, who cares?
It doesn't mean anything. If
You could see the difference when Liga MX brought their how do you say suplentes in English? I forgot. Substitutes. Then you'll see you got Maxi Mesa and Bruneta, and then MLS brings theirs. It's not just the same. So I don't know. I think MLS is trying to appeal.
Try too hard.
They know Liga MX is the most watched league in America, and it's the biggest league in North America. So they are trying to take advantage of that. But for me, they're trying too hard, and when it matters, they fall short, unfortunately. So when you fall short in the moments that matter, then all that you do is going to get criticized after, because how does Leagues Cup work? Like people, if you see coverage in Central America, in Mexico, people are just talking like, why do they give these teams participating in this tournament? Why do they get spots in the CONCACAF Champions League, and teams in Central America have to play another tournament to get there? So that's questions that you get because the people saw the reality of this tournament, unfortunately. And I don't know, it would be nice for Inter Miami to win another trophy, but I don't think it would be as impactful as it was last year.
Yeah, of course. We're going to get there right. So we'll just very quickly touch on the All-Star game because that happened in the beginning of this week, which is why we didn't have a pod until Thursday night. The All-Star game happened on Wednesday night. The MLS All-Stars lost 4-1 to the Liga MX Estrellas, the Liga MX All-Star team. Again, I don't put much stock into who wins or loses these games. I mean, if they would have gotten blown out 10-1, maybe it's, then you could dissect it a little more and be like, that was humiliating. Or if they had won 10-1, then, you could say something there. But, 4-1 defeat or a 4-1 win, it doesn't really mean much to me. It's an all-star game. These players don't play together. It's, they're playing at, second gear. No one's trying to get injured. There's a minutes count. From an Inter Miami standpoint, Jordi Alba and Sergio Busquets were the representatives. Lionel Messi and Luis Suarez obviously out. Well, Messi out obviously due to injury. Suarez also out due to injury. I don't know if that rule still is in play. We should find out. If you miss the All-Star game, that you have to sit out the next MLS game because you were injured. They did that to Zlatan one year, if I'm not mistaken.
And I think
I don't know if it's
Chicho Arango missed the All-Star game because he was suspended. One of the games that he was suspended for 4 games for something that happened.
MLS doing MLS things.
And one of those games is the All-Star game. So yeah, if you can believe that, imagine how unserious this league is, because they red card you on league play, but you pay one of those, then they give you 4 games, and then you pay one of those 4 games in an All-Star game, right?
Incredible, remarkable stuff. As far as Jordi Alba and Sergio Busquets, they took part in the skills challenge, and they took part in the All-Star game. They both started for the MLS side. They played 45 minutes, the first 45, and then they were subbed out in a sea of changes. But again, MLS All-Star plus 41. That's it. That's all we're talking about for the All-Star game. We've talked a good bit. It's been 25 minutes and we've been going in. People are going to think, oh, los pesimistas, I'm so pessimistic. Oh, man, what's wrong with them? Look, we've come from a month of good international quality soccer with
I got the impression.
Euros,
I cannot come and sit here
and then you
lie.
come into MLS for All-Star game, which is a bunch of hoopla and PR and bullshit.
The first game that I went back after the Copa America final was that Toronto Inter Miami game that you guys discussed last week.
But I think that's a real game, though.
I felt like, woo!
But at least it's a real game. I mean, you can feel the difference, like the post-vacation blues when you go back home. You're like, oh, man. But at least that's a real game.
Yeah,
this bullshit of a freaking All-Star game that we just have to deal with over the last few days. And now we've got Leagues Cup, which will be more competitive, but is still... leaves something to be desired. As far as Inter Miami goes, would it be nice for them to win a second trophy? Yes. Like you said, though, how impactful would it really be? Besides the photos and besides Jorge Mas and Jose Mas and David Beckham, saying, oh, look at us, and, we've won another trophy in a short span with this project, doing all the PR stuff that they would do if they were to win again. On the field and in terms of, like, public perception, I don't think it does a whole lot. They've won this competition already. They already have that trophy in their cabinet. Winning it a second time, cool. It's a nice treat. Getting another trophy is always a plus. But I don't think it does much for the overall image of Inter Miami from an outsider's perspective. They have to win the MLS Cup. That's the goal this year now. If they can get Supporters Shield as well, they're in first place in the East. They're in the hunt. Then that's another trophy to add. That's something more significant because they haven't won that yet. And of course, MLS Cup, if you can get that star over your crest, then that is massive. That's massive. So Leagues Cup, they'll go for it. If they win it, that'll be great for the team. And if they don't, it's not the end of the world. Not the end of the world. We'll criticize the game or the moments or whatever happened that led to them not winning. But it's not the end of the world. They've got bigger fish to fry. They've already won this competition. Winning this competition again doesn't do a whole lot for them. Andrea, let's preview the game on Friday. On Saturday. Puebla at Chase Stadium in Fort Lauderdale. We will be there. Puebla's not a very good team. I mean, it's early in the Liga MX Apertura, but they're not a very good team. Let's see. I have it here. Where are you?
They're in 12th place.
I think they're in 13. I think I saw they were in 13. Let me see.
They have a good coach, though. Chepo de la Torre is like historic Mexican coach. But yeah, I agree. They're not the strongest rival that Inter Miami
13th place. 13th place. They have a 1-win, 1 draw, 2-loss record. They've scored 5 goals, and they've given up 8. You said earlier they don't have a star player. I mean, they've got Lucas Cavallini. They've got Santiago Ormeño, who was a proven international for 1 point, but didn't really do much of anything. But yes, they don't have a standout player.
They don't have a big roster like you could say of other teams, Mexican teams. They have a good coach. They have a coach with experience, but I don't think it's going to be a close matchup just because.
You think it's going to be close?
Yes, because Inter Miami is missing Messi, and when Inter Miami misses Messi, if they don't play that well, like.
But they've been finding ways to win, Andrea. In this past month that we haven't been around, they have found ways to win.
It's MLS. So,
but Puebla's not a very good team.
Yeah, Puebla is not a very good team, but I think they will put up a fight. It will be harder for them to beat them as easily as they have been winning in this MLS.
Maybe Luis Suarez will not be suspended because it's not an MLS game.
Yeah, maybe Luis Suarez will not be suspended. You have to see how Sergio Busquets and Jordi Alba, they play 45 minutes, but what if they will have to play Tigres then on Tuesday, right? If I'm not mistaken. They have to travel also to Houston. So I can see Tata making some changes in this match, resting maybe Busquets and Jordi Alba because they traveled, maybe not risking Luis Suarez if he's having some trouble with his knee, and making them available for Tigres because, listen, if they tie against Puebla,
They
if
don't
they
play
win
on Tuesday,
against
Andrea. Sorry, they don't play. They play the following Saturday at
oh
Tigres.
Saturday.
They're off on the second match day since there's only three teams.
Okay, okay.
One match
Yeah.
day, two match
The
day, three
second
match
match
day.
day
That's it.
was Tuesday, so that's why I thought they
They're
were
off.
playing Tuesday. So, well, they have a week. No, so then I could also,
Busquets and Jordi Alba are starting. Busquets and Jordi, like this is going to be as strong an Inter Miami lineup as they can field.
you think
Now,
it's going to be? I think that maybe Tata can save because the most uh, with more the game that will have more eyeballs is going to be the one in Houston, right? Because it's Tigres, it's Andre Pierre Gignac,
of
and
course, that's the bigger game. But in terms of Tata
exactly.
Martino approaching it, if you got a, it's a regular week, right? You got a game
Yeah,
this
but
Saturday,
I
and then
could
you have a
see
full week's
him.
rest.
I could see him alternating against this Puebla.
I don't see it.
I can see some players rotating and getting minutes in this game. Like for example, I can see Yannick Bright playing this game. I could see him coming
Well,
in.
that's interesting because that will largely depend on where Sergio Busquets is deployed.
Yeah.
In this last game, the Inter Miami league game, the Inter Miami won 2-1 last past Saturday at home against the Chicago Fire. Sergio Busquets lined up at center back again. That allowed Yannick Bright to play in the midfield. Sergei Kristov out injured, the Ukrainian central defender. Yannick Bright had a hell of a game in that midfield. He was voted the icon of the match, as MLS now calls its player of the game due to its sponsorship rights with Royal Caribbean. But Yannick Bright had a hell of a game, and Sergio Busquets played center back. Now, Inter Miami made a signing officially today after, a little bit of a I don't know if you want to
When
call
will
it.
Inter Miami stop signing Descartes from Boca Juniors and River Plate?
Well, we found out that he was. I mean, we knew it was coming. Right? We heard the whispers, the rumors, but officially, David Martinez, the Paraguayan center back, he was listed on Inter Miami's Leagues Cup roster that was formally unveiled this morning. He hadn't even been announced yet officially, but that came a few hours later with the photos and everything with Chris Henderson. It's a 1-year loan from Argentine side River Plate. So through July of 2025, there is an option to purchase the center back. Clearly, he comes in to be a starter on this team to fill in for the injured Nicolas Freire, who's out for the season. I don't know, and I'm not sure. We don't have the answer yet. We will find out on Friday, of course, after we've recorded the pod, whether he will be available for selection on Saturday. Whether he's here and already, ready to play. If there's any visa paperwork that they're waiting for, that's normally the case. So we'll see what his availability is. I would venture to guess he does not play. And if he does not play, then I think, Andrea, you might be onto something. Maybe Busquets plays center back and Yannick Bright plays in that number 6 role in the midfield.
Yeah, I could see that. I could see that happening, especially because this has been in the works for a lot of times, but he needs his visa to play, his work visa. Of course, he has his visa if he's already here, but he needs his work visa to feature in this tournament. So, I think you may be onto something. Christoph is not ready, so I think we could see some changes. And Tata definitely likes Busquets as a center back. I personally don't like it, but he likes it. And we could see that against Puebla because Puebla is forgiving. Tigres is not forgiving. So if Tata wants to try on something, it's in this match because against Tigres is not going to be easy. And you're going to have more eyes and everything, extra pressure, whatever. But I think this is that match to do it. We could see other players come in also. Not only Yannick Bright, but other players. And and to tell you the truth, we could have Benjamin Cremaschi and Diego Gomez back next week in time for the game against Tigres because they both lost estrepitosamente, as we say in Spanish, like they were goleados, Paraguay and the US in the Olympics, and now they have it very hard to advance. But I think we could see this match against Puebla is an opportunity to get some of these players to get an international game, to get minutes, to maybe bring Yannick Bright, Noah Allen, David Ruiz, and all those young players. Campana. I think Campana should be starting against Puebla if Luis Suarez is having problems with his knees. You can give him more time and bring Campana until this match, and you rest up Suarez to have him ready to play against Tigres, right?
So you touched on the Olympics, and I did want to touch on that. I didn't want to completely gloss over that because it's also some Inter Miami related news this week. Well, Benjamin Kremaski and the United States played France on Wednesday. They lost 3-0. 3-0.
Benjamin didn't play.
Starting off the tournament with a bang.
And Diego Gomez did play, but Paraguay lost 5-0.
5-0 to Japan. So not a good start for Inter Miami's youngsters at the Olympics. There's still games to be played, but some work to do. As for this weekend's game for Inter Miami, you think it's going to be a close game. I think it'll be competitive, but I think Inter Miami wins this one comfortably. In the end, they'll win this one comfortably. 3-1, something along those lines. I just don't think Puebla is going to be that type of challenge for this Inter Miami team. Yes, they don't have Messi. Question marks on Suarez and his availability, but I think this Inter Miami team's in a good way. I think Tata Martino has found a good understanding of the players and where they're best at and what their best roles are if they're coming off the bench, or I think he's figured out the bulk of the team and how it functions. Now again, this will be a different type of challenge. It's a Mexican side, a Liga MX team. The intensity will be a bit different, but I don't think Puebla has enough to really test Inter Miami. I think the next game, the other game against Tigres, which will probably decide the group and who gets out of it, that's going to be the real test. So next week's show should be a doozy because, we'll have a lot to sink our teeth into, especially with the matchups that will be all over the field. So stay tuned for that, but that's next week. This is this week. So
I see this match on Saturday as a tie. I see it as a tie. Just because of the difference. Puebla is, yes, they're not a good team. They are not the worst.
Let's go through the lineup. Let's go through the lineup, Andrea. Let's go through the lineup very quickly. Because, like you said, Diego Gomez is out. Right? We're not expecting Sergio Kristoff to play. We don't know about Luis Suarez. Messi's out. So there's some key starters for Inter Miami that are out in this game. So we expect what? The same 4-3-3, right? The same 4-3-3. I mean, we've seen the back five at times recently, but we'll say 4-3-3. All right, Trey Callender is in goal. Chelo Weigand at right back because he returned against the Chicago Fire. We don't know about Martinez's availability, so let's say that he's not available for now. So we'll project what? Busquets and Thomas Aviles, or Thomas Aviles and Sergio Busquets, and then Jordi Alba. All right. So that part is pretty straightforward. In your six, if Busquets is playing center back, we have Yannick Bright. Who are the two midfielders in front of him? ¿Quiénes son los interiores para Inter Miami? Who are the two midfielders that play ahead of him?
Matias Rojas is one.
Okay, I agree.
And I would say David, but I know David is down in the pecking order. So
David Ruiz, I actually talked to Jose about this in the press box the other day. David Ruiz, and I don't know if it was like an intentional thing from Tata Martino, but ever since that boneheaded red card in the Champions Cup, formerly the Champions League, he's gone into the doghouse and has seen very, very few minutes. Could this be a game for him?
It could be perfect for him because, as I was saying to you, this is an international game, and players like David should get the opportunity.
Would he have the trust in him? Would he have the trust?
Yeah, that's the real question. Would he have the trust in him? I don't think he does, but I could see.
I don't blame him.
I could see David coming in. Especially if you have Busquets playing as a center back, or if Busquets doesn't play as a center back and you have to bring Noah Allen or make some other changes because Busquets is tired or whatever. I don't think he is, but
it's not David Ruiz, Andrea. How dare you forget? Federico Redondo will be starting.
Yeah, I know, but I could see David Ruiz coming in and maybe Federico Redondo playing instead of Julian Gressel at the top. I was going to get there.
Oh,
You
okay.
didn't let
I
me
mean,
get there.
I don't see Federico Redondo playing on the wing, but interesting.
He could. I think
Interesting
he
scenario que planteas.
but
Interesting.
Gressel, that is my imagination. Tata Martino will never do that because Julian Gressel has been getting assists, has been
productive.
responding.
He's
so
been productive.
He's been productive.
I said it last week, and I said I'll eat crow, and I'll say I got it wrong. Julian Gressel has stepped up, and he's performed, especially during this past month with key players out. He has stepped up and been a leader for this team on the field, and I imagine off the field as well. I think you have to do it as well, Andrea. You've got to admit you were wrong. Julian Gressel is stepping it up. At the beginning of the season, and listen, it's not like he overwhelms you or he's so aesthetically pleasing that it's like, wow, he had an amazing game, but he does a lot of little things right, and he has been more productive. Whether it's set pieces.
He has been more productive, but still, for me, he is still the weakest link from those three up top. He has been producing, but if you compare what Robert Taylor brings or Campana or Luis Suarez brings, he is one of the on the bottom of the.
I don't think he's
front.
I don't think they play him up there to be this, final.
Yeah, I know.
Guy. I think he's just there. His function, su función es correr, trabajar, defender, recuperar, like run, track back.
Yeah, defend, and he's doing it well because that's what Tata Martino is asking from him. He's hace una labor de sacrificio, and he's the one that has to do it because when you get Robert Taylor doing that, you don't get the good Robert Taylor.
You don't get the attacking
exactly.
The positivity.
So someone has to do it, and yes, Julian Gressel has done it. And
Julian Gressel.
Julian, yes.
You made him very Miami there. Julian Gressel.
Julian, yes, he's Julian Gressel. Julian, yeah, whatever.
just to be clear, the midfield we have Yannick Bright, Federico Redondo,
and Matias Rojas. Who has like stepped into a little a cliff. I don't know what happened. Of course, he went to Copa America. He didn't get a lot of minutes there. He didn't play, so it's tough. It's tough to go to a tournament, especially like Copa America. His team was not good. He didn't play a lot of minutes. Like I think he played for most 50 minutes the whole tournament. So it's tough for a player, and I think he's been a little bit shaky. I think he needs to do a little bit more. If you compare Julian Gressel and Matias, Julian has been more productive with assists, with being there. I know Matias scored a goal, but it's not the same player that the first matches that we saw. That when he came, we saw, and he has a lot of promise. But I think he's in a little bit of a slump. But I could see Tata Martino not changing the lineup. The only the like from the game with Chicago, the only thing is for me is if Luis Suarez is available or if he's going to rest Sergio Busquets, because if you rest Sergio Busquets, so do you bring Ian Frey? Do you bring
no chance he rests Sergio Busquets.
Then the midfield could change, because then you will have to have, instead of Matias Rojas, you will have to have, along with Yannick Bright, you need to have a little bit more defensive player if Sergio Busquets doesn't play.
Federico Redondo. All right, up top, I'm going, like you said, Robert Taylor on one wing, Julian Gressel on the other, and then if Luis Suarez is available, he starts. If he's not available, it's Campana. So I think the team, you can pretty much more or less know what it's going to be. Again, Martinez is available to start at center back, then maybe he gets to start there, and Busquets goes into the midfield. Yannick Bright comes out. But by and large, I don't think we're going to see very many surprises. And I think that's why this team that understands itself, I think Inter Miami will win comfortably. So they'll start the Leagues Cup. They will start their title defense with a victory with 3 points and get one step closer to advancing to the next round. But the big match will probably come next Saturday, depending on what Tigres does against Puebla during the week. Although, again, expectation is that Tigres will win, although that's why you play these games. Beautiful game. You never know what can happen. Never know what can happen. Andrea, very, very quickly, let's touch on a couple of players individually. I mean, I don't know much about Martinez, so I can't, give you an analysis or a scouting report. But again, I imagine he's going to fill in there at the starting center back spot. I wonder what that means for Nicolas Freire. Does that mean Nicolas Freire has any chance of coming back next year? What do you think? I know it's early, it's sensation, not inside information, but do you think there's any chance that Nicolas Freire comes back next year?
No, especially because he's also unknown. I know they have an option to buy, but it wouldn't be
an injury-prone center back.
It wouldn't be a good investment to pay for a player who just had an ACL, a ligament injury, especially when Pumas owns him. So he
has a history of injuries now.
Yeah, exactly. I think he will have to go back to Mexico, or I don't know, maybe he resigns his contract and that would be something. But
that's the only way I see him coming back.
That's
the only way I see him coming back.
Some years left in his contract because he signed. I think when he signed with Pumas, and let me remind people, he was part of that Pumas team who lost against Seattle Sounders. Nicolas Freire played that final against Seattle Sounders. People in Mexico, people in Liga MX still hate that Pumas team because they lost. It's been the only team in recent history of the tournament that has lost against an MLS side. So when he got there, that was his first year. It was 2021, 2020. I don't remember which of the two, but he signed for 5 years. So I think he still has some years left in his contract. So I don't think it would be a good investment for Inter Miami to do it.
The only way
it was a nice gesture for them to keep him here, though, making his recuperation. Because usually when a player is on loan, he goes back to his team, to his parent team, to his own, to the owner of his ficha. So it was a good gesture from Inter Miami to let him stay here.
The only way I see him coming back is if he rescinds his contract, like with the Mexican team, and then is on a free. I just don't see Inter Miami paying a transfer fee for an injury-prone center back, especially when they brought in another center back up until next summer. Yeah. Now we'll see how David Martinez does, because
he hasn't played. He doesn't play.
He, according to reports, he was close to signing with Pumas. He was close to signing with Pumas in June, but he didn't pass his medical exams. Mm-hmm. So he did not go to Pumas.
Yes.
Which is very interesting because then did Inter Miami give him the same set of exams? Did they give him like a lighter load of exams just to make the signature happen? Who knows? Right? Who knows? In the wild, wild world of Inter Miami and all of its lack of transparency, who knows?
That's a good question.
Maybe they made him run one cone drill, and they're like, "You pass, all right, you're in."
Who knows how rigorous the physical test is here in Inter Miami? But it's true, he didn't pass the test. That's why he didn't get to Pumas. And I know these players that Tata Martino has been bringing have brought something for the team, but it gets to a point that you're taking a gamble with these guys, especially with Martinez now, because the same as Matias Rojas, they don't play. And if they don't play, it's because of something. And if you keep signing these types of players, then what will happen is the first match and the first two matches, they have good games, and then you get them in a slump, like you did Matias Rojas. And that's not on the player, because they knew that Matias Rojas was not playing in Brazil, and it was for a reason, right? So I don't know. I guess we will have to wait and see how David Martinez is physically, but I think it says a lot that he didn't pass his physical with Pumas, and now he did with Inter Miami.
So, regarding a couple other players I want to talk about. Yeah, I mean, I don't think Sergio Kristoff, I haven't talked about this on the last show with Jose. I don't think Sergio Kristoff comes back next year. I think his days are numbered here. So maybe you could have Martinez and Freire, but again, Chip would have to align, but like the picture would have to sort itself out. I don't think Inter Miami is paying a transfer fee for both of them in a 6-month span. Well, someone that Inter Miami could very well and is likely to receive a transfer fee for is Diego Gomez. We touched on it last week's show. We talked to Diego Gomez after that game that Inter Miami played a week prior against Toronto FC, if I'm not mistaken, if my memory serves me correctly. And, he said that there were talks between his representative, his agent, su representante, Inter Miami / MLS, and Brighton Hove Albion. Now, Tata Martino further confirmed that those talks are ongoing, and he said it's essentially a formality that Diego Gomez will join that team. There's reports of $18 million transfer fee, but let's listen to Tata Martino on Diego Gomez and his immediate future or his near future at the club level.
No, lo que ustedes saben, ¿no? El interés está, es más que interés, más temprano que tarde es algo que se va a hacer. No sabemos cuándo, y además no podemos decidir cuándo. Si pudiésemos decidir cuándo, trasladaríamos todo esto a diciembre, a fin de año. Pero seguramente Diego nos va a dejar y nosotros acompañamos con mucho agrado esta situación de que él en un año y medio haya mostrado todo lo bueno que ya había hecho en Libertad y todo lo bueno que hizo en el preolímpico y lo haya sostenido y haya mejorado y haya llamado la atención de equipos de la Premier. Creo además que justamente la Premier y este equipo en particular es un lugar adecuado para él.
So long story short, Tata Martino says that Diego Gomez will leave Inter Miami. It's just a matter of figuring out when. Inter Miami would like it to be in the winter. They would like to keep him through the rest of the season.
But Diego wants to leave now.
I mean,
it makes sense. It's not the same for a player to get to Europe when you get in December and you have to get used to a new league, a new pace.
New country,
usually
new language.
When players do that, they have a lot of trouble to get. So the moment for Diego Gomez is to leave is now. If there is an offer for 15 million plus add-ons that can make it 18, I think it's a good investment for Inter Miami to get that money.
There were whispers last week. There were whispers that Diego Gomez, he would do his medical for Brighton while he's over there in Europe right now. So yeah. So possible. Maybe they've already taken the pictures. Maybe they're just waiting to make it official. Now,
listen, when we talked to him, I got a feeling that Diego was pushing it because
absolutely.
As we know how MLS is, and we know how MLS makes it complicated for players to leave. They like to sell themselves as a league that gets players to Europe, but once the player is here, it is very complicated for a player to leave to Europe. So when Diego talked with us that day, I felt like he was pushing for it, like for him to be that blunt with us. I think it was his push. Like
I said this last week. I think his representative. I mean, you get a sense for these things, especially once you're there, and you can kind of sense. Like things that you maybe can't perceive, through the camera. It felt like he was trained to say what he said because he didn't say a whole lot. Like I asked him a follow-up question after you asked him that, and he said the same thing essentially, just like kind of repeated the same lines, which to me says his agent said, "Say this when you're asked about it." Right? Like you're going to be asked about it, just say this. Don't say anything else. Just stick to this little script, and that's it. Because that's all he said. And I asked him, what if he's excited about the prospect, and all he said was like, he repeated what he said to you. I came to make el salto, to make the jump from MLS to Europe, etc.
And I think I get Diego Gomez because let's face it, he has been injured a lot with Inter Miami. He has a lot of good games, but if Diego Gomez gets to
ready,
a Premier
though,
League,
he's ready.
It's because of the Preolímpico he had with Paraguay. He was the most valuable player.
No. Give Inter Miami its credit, man. Give Inter Miami its credit.
Franco, but he has been good with Inter Miami, but he has not been constant. He has been
What?
injured.
No. Listen, Andrea. What?
Franco,
Yes,
he
has
was
been
injured all
Yes,
the time after he came from the Preolímpico. They saw him in the
so
Preolímpico.
Brighton Hove Albion were like, hey, he's good in 5 games,
Especially
so
that
we're gonna
team.
sign him.
Please, Estupiñán, Caicedo.
I do like Estupiñán. Pervis Estupiñán,
So,
tremendo jugador.
They
Tremendo
found
jugador
all
con la
those
Corona.
players. They found all those players in Preolímpicos. Brighton is a very intelligent team in the Premier League.
But you don't just sign a player based off of 5 games in an
Of
international
course,
youth
no,
competition.
but I think they got convinced with Diego Gomez's performance.
They scouted him in MLS. They saw him with Inter Miami. Look, is he again going like? And I'm not even going to compare him playing style to Julian Gressel, but I will say, is like we talked about Julian Gressel, is Diego Gomez the most aesthetically pleasing player in the attack? No. Does he have his moments in the attack, like with that diagonal runs he makes, the goal he scored against Toronto FC? You know, he made a perfectly timed run to get on the end of a ball, I think, from Fede Redondo, if I'm not mistaken, and he finished very well, like a striker at the top of the 18 with the goalkeeper, coming out to try to close down the angle. Does he have a lot of those moments? No, but he is a hard worker. He tracks back. He gets stuck in.
The team in Europe to take him was the Preolímpico, because then Federico Redondo is not getting any offers because he didn't get to go to the Olympics.
Federico Redondo just got here.
Yes,
and it's a different player. Listen, Diego Gomez. You watch Diego Gomez. I'm not a scout, but I've watched a lot of MLS. I've watched a lot of football in my life, and I've done a lot of it in a journalistic capacity, and I analyze it as thoroughly as I can every single time I watch. Diego Gomez is more polished than Federico Redondo. Diego Gomez is more ready at this point in his career to take the next step.
But he wasn't. Last year with Inter Miami,
he influences games. Again, not just with the goals.
And what he showed in the Preolímpico was the key to this, Franco. He was the best player there. He was the best player.
He was. But Andrea, you just said it yourself when you were talking about him going to Brighton and maybe going in December instead of now. He joined Inter Miami last year in the summer, transitioning to a new league, a new style, a new language, a new country.
He didn't have a good year.
He didn't have a good year, but he showed flashes. Then, with the proper preseason under his belt, he did very well with Paraguay, where I'm sure he felt way more comfortable because it's his surroundings.
And he didn't play with Inter Miami. After the Preolímpico, he didn't play.
No, he did play when he got the preseason. Then he played in the the start of the season.
No, after the Preolímpico, he didn't play with Inter Miami.
Of course he did.
He played one game before he left.
No. They got back. He started playing preseason. And then he played in the regular season, got injured. He didn't get injured in the first game of the season after that. He started the year well. Okay,
but I think the Preolímpico changed his career, and he will view it as a defining moment because that changed his whole game after the season he had with Inter Miami. It was hard on him, and kudos to him because he pushed through and he went and in a tournament that you had Brazil, that you have Hendrik, that you had every star.
That Preolímpico put him on the radar.
On the map, yeah.
Put him on the radar.
Yeah,
but you still these teams are still going to scout him day in and day out, get a sense of who he is as a player, as a professional. And I think with how he carried that confidence into the regular season with Inter Miami and how Inter Miami, you have to give them some credit here, Andrea, that they helped develop him and help continue to push him in a team where he's got to fight for minutes with Messi. He's got to fight for minutes. I mean, it's not like it's a given, even though he's one of Tata's chosen ones. It's not a given that it's that he has a starting spot on the team.
I'm just saying, there's a reason why Diego Gomez is leaving and Federico Redondo is not.
That's different. Diego Gomez is much more ready. You can see it. He influences the games
because of the Preolímpico. He was ready. What he did there was the change, not Inter Miami. What he did in the Preolímpico was the changes in his career. Franco, it's just a fact.
Andrea,
you just accepted
how many players? How many players? This is unbelievable,
season, right?
No, how many players come from Europe or come from the most veteran players or the youngest players that come from South America, come during the middle of the season? They have to adapt to all these things we just talked about, and they struggle. We've seen the likes of Thierry Henry struggle. We've seen David Villa, Tim Cahill, Frank Lampard. We've seen big-time players with careers. They come middle of the season and they struggle.
The Preolímpico.
No, he just had a full season. He had a full year. He had a proper preseason to prepare. He was able to get more comfortable.
Changed everything for him. It's not Inter Miami. If he didn't have the Preolímpico he had and that confidence and him being the best player, he wouldn't have the year that he's having. That is a fact.
Listen, I agree with you that the Preolímpico was the turning point. I just said it. I put it on the map. But I don't think he had a terrible season last year, and that the Preolímpico made him this amazing player all of a sudden. No, I think he was a good player. He showed flashes of it last year. He was just transitioning to a new league. And maybe if he goes to England, same thing will happen, right? That he might not hit the ground running. He might need some time to adapt and adjust. And then after that, once he gets his feet running, then he'll pick it up.
That Brighton is the right place for him to go because they've been doing this. They've been taking South American players and polishing them and making them great players and then selling them. And Diego Gomez has to see that as an example, and I guess that's why he's excited for the prospect. Hopefully it can get done because it will be a good deal for Inter Miami. Listen, it's not every day that you pay $50 million for a player that's just played in MLS. That's not.
He's ready though. You can see it. You can see it. Again, I'm not a scout, but you can see that he's ready. The way he influences and impacts games in more ways than one. The dirty work, the grit, getting stuck in.
Yeah,
he's ready. He's ready.
It will be a great deal for him and for Inter Miami. Also, they have to take advantage. No one else, if they wait, no one else will pay them that for Diego Gomez. He can get injured. Anything can happen. For me, it's a given. It will be intelligent for him to leave, for him and for the club. So I think it's the moment to sell.
A good bit of business for Inter Miami, and I think Tata Martino deserves 99% of the credit for that because obviously his connections to Paraguay. Likely, was like, hey, let's bring him on board. This is my guy. They brought him on board, and in a year, not even a year and a half, and in a year, they're about to flip him and make a good bit of coin. So good business there from Inter Miami. The Tata Martino effect. There's questions as to what happens the day that Tata leaves. Because there's questions when Messi leaves. What happens when Tata leaves? We've seen Atlanta United when Tata left. Things went south because they didn't have that recruiting chip anymore. That does help bring in a lot of promising players from South America. All right, very quickly, Andrea, last player we will touch on here before we wrap up the show, Robert Taylor. Tata Martino had, one of his most revealing or interesting post-game comments after the win against the Chicago Fire was about Robert Taylor. And he said, I'm going to paraphrase here. He said, I haven't even told Robert Taylor this. This is just my perception. And then he goes into talking about how when Robert Taylor has his mind on things outside of football, outside of what's going on the field, that Tata Martino thinks that Robert Taylor isn't as effective, but that when he's not worried about contract statuses or things outside the field like that, that he's able to be the Robert Taylor that we've seen. So Inter Miami's working on renewing his deal, but this is what Tata Martino had to say about Robert Taylor.
Las situaciones de Robert siempre tienen que ver con, desde mi punto de vista, y ni siquiera esto lo he hablado con él. Los momentos altos y los bajos tienen que ver, por supuesto, con una cuestión de confianza, pero también con situaciones que están más afuera del campo que dentro del campo. Y a esto me refiero comentarios como que va a ser transferido, comentarios como que a lo mejor a fin de año deja Inter de Miami. Bueno, como nada, cuando se confirman cosas que a él le dan seguridad, Robert es capaz de ofrecer este tipo de partidos. Y Robert ha tenido la posibilidad en estos días de empezar a conversar respecto a su futuro. Desde mi punto de vista, esas conversaciones han sido auspiciosas para él. Cuando él tiene esa certeza, su cabeza está bien y futbolísticamente es un juego muy importante para nosotros.
I think that's telling. You remember we had that conversation here when he didn't go to his national team and the whole contract situation. I guess he was more affected than what we thought because even Tata Martino is admitting it now. Oh, we have a comment. Endo says, buenas noches, Palm Beach, Broward, and Day. Buenas noches. Dos.
Skrilla says they did the same to Kamala, gave him a new contract.
I didn't want to be that person. I'm glad someone else said it, but that happens in MLS a lot.
It's interesting with Robert Taylor, right? It's interesting. They could re-sign him, but does he fit in the picture long term? I mean, he scores goals and he does his thing, and I think I think there's
He's an
value in
asset.
it.
He's also an asset. They can do what they did with Kamal Miller, sign him and then trade him to another team and get money.
So that's the question. That's the question that we'll wrap the pod on. Do we see Robert Taylor having a future with Inter Miami? Because it's clear that he can produce. It's clear that he can produce, and he's an effective option for Inter Miami when he does play. Now, that being said, it's MLS, and if you have a valuable asset that other teams will want in a league that has a salary cap, which might increase next year, but
it increased now.
It increased, but it could increase more so next year. Is that a piece that you would hold on to, or is that a piece that you can trade to maximize either money you're bringing in for future transfer windows, for other assets? Because look, if Facundo Farias was not injured, Robert Taylor would not be seeing this much time. But Facundo Farias is injured. That's why Robert Taylor is getting these minutes. So that's why maybe they resign him. Does he stick around though? Or does he get the Kamal Miller treatment and get traded? Andrea, your thoughts?
I think what will happen is that Robert Taylor is an asset in this league. You just said it best. You described it the best. He's an asset and he has a future in the league. I don't think with Inter Miami. I think Inter Miami is going to sign a contract. He's going to renew his contract, and they're gonna send him away in a trade for general money, for whatever trades that happen in this league, Tam Gam, and with a player.
Thank you, ma'am.
Yeah.
Rohan, Taylor's going to be League's Cup MVP. I don't know about that one, but I agree with you. I think they re-signed him to a new deal. I think
he'll stay in MLS, but not with Inter Miami.
I think he finishes this season with Inter Miami to try to get them to an MLS Cup. Try to help them win MLS Cup.
Yes, they need him.
But I think in the winter, when you start to reassess pieces, and you gotta it's not because he's not a good player that Inter Miami won't keep him. It's because of the salary budget.
An asset.
Plus the fact that maybe there are players that Tata Martino rates higher when healthy.
And especially if you want to bring more players, if Inter Miami gets that spot in the Club World Cup.
Right, you're going to have to replace Diego Gomez.
As we all know, it's going to happen. It's going to be Inter Miami because they want Messi playing in the World Cup, in the Club World Cup. So they need to have more team.
It seems like the consensus in the chat is that Robert Taylor will be out. Mike V. Robert Taylor is out. He's one of the last pieces that remind us of the OGs, but he's out. Campana's out, and Callender's out. Martino hates anyone he didn't bring.
Well, that's been a talking point between fans of Inter Miami.
Robert is out of here from Endo. Sorry, Andrea. Sorry.
Return comments.
Yeah, I was reading some comments, but no, go ahead.
Yeah, I think that's one complaint that I've heard fans tell me, that Tata Martino doesn't like players that were already here, that he wants to build his own players. And well, that makes some sense. Usually what happens is
that's normal.
You add players that you want. And Robert is an asset. And we have talked about this in this podcast a lot. Robert is an asset. Is one of the few assets that Inter Miami have in the league. So they can get good money for him. They can get a good trade for him. And if they want to compete next year in the Club World Cup, they need a better team than what they have now. Diego Gomez leaves, as you said, and more players will leave. Sergi Cristo will leave. Nicolas Freire will leave. And that will happen. So Inter Miami needs every cent that they can get. They need.
Endo says Martino hates anyone that doesn't speak Spanish. Still emoji. I mean, I don't know if that's true, but thankfully we speak Spanish, so we're not going anywhere. Menos mal. All right. Yeah, I agree. I think again, I think his days are numbered. Even though they're talking about a new contract, I think his days are numbered. Because there's other pieces.
Yeah, I think he's going to get the Kamal treatment, and unfortunately will have to leave Miami. But he'll find a place in MLS.
He'll find a place in MLS. He's a very good player
for MLS.
It'll be like he will be like Lewis Morgan in terms of when he leaves.
Yes.
How the fan reaction will be like, losing what I won't say the fan favorite, but one of the fan favorites.
You know who left also? Next Inter Miami. That Inter Miami couldn't keep because of the rule breaking. Julian Carranza left for Europe also after forcing a move. Everyone has to force a move in MLS.
Okay, and then very quickly, 2 final questions, and this goes for the comment section as well. I'm curious to hear your thoughts. Rapid fire, because we're at an hour and 10. Does Inter Miami repeat as Leagues Cup champion? Yes or no?
No.
No. I agree. I don't think that they win the tournament again. I agree with you. And by the way, people are saying Robert Taylor will go to
Portland.
Robert Taylor to Portland confirmed, says Endo. Mike B, he will go play for Neville. It's a good shout. It's a good shout.
He brought him. So yeah, I could see
shout.
that happening.
So I agree with you. No, Inter Miami does not win MLS, win Leagues Cup again. They do not have a successful title defense. Who will be Inter Miami's best player in the competition? I mean, it might only be 2 games for all we know, but maybe that's not the great question. Maybe the question is, who needs to have a very good tournament for Inter Miami to have a chance at winning Leagues Cup? Luis Suarez.
Calendar.
Luis Suarez. Calendar.
For me,
okay.
calendar.
Okay. I say Luis Suarez. If Messi's not there to score those goals and get those assists like he did last year, someone has to pick up the bulk of that attacking or those attacking contributions. I think it has to be Luis Suarez. Do they make it to the final? It's a question from Endo in the comment section. Yes or no? Put your hands to the fire, Andrea. Put your hands to the fire. It's cold in here. Let's put the hands to the fire, Akisita.
No. Without Messi, no way.
I agree. I don't think they make it to the final. This is a good question. Do they make it out of the group?
That's a good question.
I don't think so, man. I don't think so.
It's going to be difficult. I agree with Franco.
So.
It's going to be difficult. I think it all depends on the result on Saturday. And you said they will win on.
They win. They beat Puebla. Tigres is beating Puebla, and then it comes down to the game against Tigres, and it's not in South Florida. It will be in a stadium that will be pro Tigres. And in that game, I'm not using CONCACAF Champions Cup as evidence of it because I mean you could, but I'm not going to. But I just don't think Inter Miami has that quality without Messi to beat a team like Tigres.
Tigres is they changed the coach. He's an ex-MLS coach, but an ex-Chivas coach, Veljko Paunovic. But they have an infinite roster, like one of the best rosters, not just in Mexico, but in America, in the whole continent. They are a deep team, and it's going to be very hard for Inter Miami without Messi to be able to win that match. So I agree with you. I don't see them getting out of the group without Messi.
Actually, no. Wait. I think we're going to take that back. Because we were thinking that first place team only qualifies. First and second place qualify. So Inter Miami's qualifying.
Yes.
They'll qualify in second. Now, what happens in the knockout stage? Again, I just don't see them winning.
Yeah, I don't see them winning without Messi. I don't see them winning either. Too many good teams in this year. They don't have just MLS teams. If they go through in second, they're gonna get another Mexican powerhouse. They can get Monterrey again, and you know what happened last time they played Monterrey. So
we don't predict. Neither you and I predict.
No, they're winning. No,
to correct ourselves. We don't see them winning the tournament, but we also don't see them taking first place in this group.
Yes, we don't see them taking first place in this group.
All right, so we started the show ripping Leagues Cup, and we will end the show talking about Inter Miami's, or the lack of Inter Miami's chances, the chances Inter Miami has in Leagues Cup. So there we go. A nice, spicy, not so optimistic episode from us on this one, but it's a different competition.
No, it was good. We talked about how good they play, but listen, Inter Miami is a team without Messi and another with Messi, and in this tournament against Mexican teams, you need players like Lionel Messi because the team, and we just talked about it, that's why Robert Taylor is predicted to leave, because they need more if they want to compete with powerhouses like Tigres and all those Mexican teams. So it is what it is. We here in Miami Total Football Radio will always tell you the truth.
But we'll tell you our truth.
Yes.
We'll be honest with you. We're not here to spit PR.
Yeah.
We're not here to.
Yeah, we're not here
to
like to us. Like I couldn't believe talking about just.
We're not here to sell smoke. Yeah.
I couldn't believe that they didn't ask. They had Sergio Busquets, and we're talking about playing with Mexican teams, and they didn't ask him about his ex teammate being the new assistant. And well, it is what it is, man. It is what it is.
And this is the last part of the show. You have 30 seconds to wax poetry, rub it in Jose's face publicly, and take your bow for winning in the Inter Miami 2024 Media Cup
Yes,
alongside
we
your
won
boy.
with
Yes.
our team won. Our team won. I had so much fun. I played as a central defender and I had so much fun. It was so much fun. Our team, La Remontada.
We got payback. We got payback for
We
last
got
time.
payback and we did a remontada and we had fun. Frasco scored a goal. I saw him play the goal like 1,000 times in last podcast, but has no shame because un gol
I'm
de
learning from
rebote,
MLS, man.
but
I'm learning
a
from
goal
MLS.
is a goal, I
It's-
guess. He cannot
I'm-
criticize any goal anymore because he showed that goal 15 times in last podcast.
Hey, listen, MLS is rubbing off on me. All right, I'm just
Yes, Franco is
don't do
being
as I
very
say. Do
MLS-y. But
yeah.
we won and it was fun. It was so fun. And Franco and I shared a locker room and we were put beside each other. No red card for me, yes, but I had some good tackles. I had some good tackles to some people that deserved them and we won. We won.
Yannicka Bright over here. Yannicka Bright. All right. Well,
Yannicka, please,
well-
Carles Puyol.
with the hair. When you got the
With the
front,
hair,
yeah.
exactly,
All
los
right, I see
colochos.
that.
So
I
yes.
see that. I see
It was
that. All right.
very fun, and we won. Jose is on the losing side, and we won this year. We won.
Next year is the tiebreaker. So, all right. Andrea, we went 6 minutes over, but that's fine. We needed to hear more from you. It's been a month and change since you've been on the pod. So we'll sign off for now again. Give us a like, a comment, a share, a subscribe, a review on Apple Podcasts, a written review. We are very close to hitting the number that we need, and then we can give away those shorts. I promise you I'm giving them away. Just a matter of hitting that number whenever we hit that number. All right. So for Andrea Llanes, I am Franco Panizo. You have been listening to Miami Total Football. No me salió la radio. We will be back next week to recap the game against Puebla, and then we will preview the big matchup against Tigres. Don't know what day yet, but we will be back next week. I promise. So signing off for now. Have a great weekend, and we'll talk to you guys very, very soon.